Okay, thank you everybody for showing up today for my speech. I'm going to be talking about the gene diet and dangers in the pantry. So to really go into this, I'm going to talk about some of my history because I think that it's important to develop what my history is and how this correlates to me. So the first one was my eating habits. When I was a kid, I ate really poorly. I had gummy worms every week. I had all the candies that you can ever desire as a kid. My mom used to bring them home and I would eat them all up. Cereal was one of my favorite foods. Every morning I would wake up and I'd run and open the pantry and grab a sugar cereal and I'd eat that in the morning. And I continued that behavior all the way up into my adulthood. When I became an adult, I decided I wanted to join the military. So uh, that's one of my personal struggles that I went through is when I went to go join the military, I was overweight. So I had to do a crash course diet. But of course, I didn't do the diet right. I didn't know what I was doing. And I went and decided that I was just going to do a diet of Slim Fast and Twinkies, and I did that for a month. I used to go running. I would run every day, and my nourishment that fed my body was Twinkies and Slim Fast. Okay, so that was the first kind of struggle, and it wasn't that bad. And then, as I went through the Coast Guard, I decided to get into lifting weights. So I was into powerlifting and I was pumping my body full of all kinds of different chemicals and whey proteins and vitamins and all these other things to try to make my muscles big. And it was during this period of time that I got really sick. I actually lost 60 pounds and I didn't know what was going on. I was clueless. So I went to the doctor and it took them a year before they diagnosed me with Crohn's disease. So now I have Crohn's disease. And moving on from there, I found out that in America, there's a correlation between what we're eating and the diseases that we have. So this is a chart that I thought was kind of cool. It talks about the United States compared to your other countries. And when you look at it, America's at 66% above the normal BMI. So 66% of Americans are above their BMI index. Okay, compared to 37% worldwide. For kids, it's 29% and it's 14% worldwide. So, and this directly correlates to disease. We just so happen to have one of the highest rates of heart disease, one of the highest rates of strokes, one of the highest rates of cancers. And all this goes back to how we're treating our body. And so when I got the Crohn's disease, I decided I was going to figure out how I could help myself. So I decided to go and do some research. And so when I did my research, I went to the cellular level. I was like, okay, certain foods make me sick. Other foods make me feel okay. So why is that? And so we have trillions of cells in our body. Each one of these cells is a building block. Okay, your stomach's made of cells. Everything in our body, your nose is made of cells. And inside of those cells, what makes a cell is a chromosome. And so this is a picture of a chromosome. Okay, inside the chromosome is the gene, and we've seen the heliax before. This is pretty much your four bases. This is what builds your body. Okay, are all these chromosomes. And if you go, let's go to the next one. Okay, and so each one of these chromosomes that we have, I think we have 23 pairs. And each one of these chromosomes, which is wrapped with those genes, has a program. And that program is very similar to your computer. Okay, it's a formula that's in there. And so on this particular chromosome, this set of genes right here would be the program for developing and making your nose. Okay, this program right here happens to be your stomach function. Okay, so that's how all this works. And so the next one, we're going to see what an actual chromosome looks like in a person. Okay, so in this slide, you can see you have your 22 pairs down here. Okay, and then you have your X and your Y. Okay, the X and the Y are the chromosomes that says whether you're going to be a male or a female. So you have your two X's, you're female. You have X and Y, yeah, you're a male. So, and this is, you can see the bands on these, like what I was talking about. So if you could picture in your mind, these are programs on how to build you as a human being. And what they found out with some stomach cancer, and I'm not going to get too in depth in it, is the CDH1 on chromosome 16. There's a malfunction, there's a mutation. And so one of these pairs right here has a mutation in it. And that mutation causes stomach cancer. And so I found that really interesting that these programs that build us is all in these 23 pairs of chromosomes. And those 23 pairs of chromosomes are in every single cell in our entire body, and every bit of food that we put in our mouth feeds these chromosomes. Okay? So, genes and food. Okay, so how does our chromosomes and our genes and all that correlate to food? Well, Stanford did a test. They did it, and it's called DNA versus Diet. That's the article. And they did it on chromosome 1. So if you go back one slide, we'll see that chromosome 1 is right here. Okay, it's the largest chromosome. So that's where they did the study. And the program, and I'm going to call these programs, the program is on APOA2. Just so happens that this program is the one that they believed, okay, had to deal with how we store our fat. So you had two different types of versions people. They did blood tests, they drew their blood, and they were able to look at their chromosomes, and they said, okay, you have a C type and you have a T type. And what they found was very interesting. So they had each type. They had the group of the C's and the group of the T's. They had them eat saturated fats, and they had another group of the C's and the T's, and they had or just regular food, low fats. And what they found is that the group that had high fat, the C version had significantly higher BMIs than those with the T version. So the genetics and the type that they were played a significant role on how much weight they were increasing in. Now the group that had the low-fat diet, it didn't matter. So it was equal. So the C and T version, they, on a low-fat diet, their BMI stayed the same. So they were neutral. So when they ate healthy, their BMI stayed the same. Okay? So I found that really interesting in how that plays into food. And that a lot of these diseases, you hear people with diabetes kicking their diabetes just by eating the right amounts of food. So the next slide, okay, the New England Journal, this correlates to me because I found this interesting too. The New England Journal of Medicine did a test, and that was on the SMAD7 program. Just so happens this is the program that controls on chromosome 18, controls stomach cancer, or not stomach cancer, rectal cancer. Not only that, it's the same chromosome that correlates to Crohn's disease. In Crohn's disease patients, what they do is a lot of times they have a higher risk of colon cancer, and that makes sense. So this Mongersen is the medication that they're testing, and what this does is it goes into the body, and it takes out that mutated gene and it replaces it with good proteins so that they're able to eat, or so that it's able to normalize them. So I found all this fascinating, and I wanted to share that with everybody here and say, hey, there's new studies coming down, and people a lot of times wonder, you can't cure cancer. Yeah, you can. You can cure cancer, and the way that you do it is at a genetic level. And I think that most of these diseases that we see can handle at a genetic level. However, in the meantime, there's also studies, and I can't go through them. There's a plethora of studies that show that food also plays an important role on normalizing you with the general population if you have one of these conditions and one of these diseases. So anyways, that's my presentation on that. I appreciate everyone coming out and listening. Thank you very much. And then go ahead and kill that.